Hello, my name is David A. Mumford, also known as DAM. I'm a designer slash upcycler from London, and today what I'm doing is I'm upcycling a halter neck dress from one man's shirt. The first thing we need to do is deconstruct the shirt. Now the first process of that is to unpick the collar. So I'm going to use my scalpel blade to do so. So what you need to do, you need to just start picking the threads away from the collar. I actually always try to avoid unpicking if I can because it's so boring. Just keep that to one side. Now you will see that the collar is actually off the shirt. What I do is I take my scissors and I cut closely to the original side seam first, up towards the armhole. When I reach the armhole, I want to cut around the sleeve head, which is the shaping which comes over the top of your arm when you're wearing the shirt. So that's one sleeve off, and cut up the other side seam. Again, just to the armhole. So then that's both sleeves off, put them to one side. Now you can see the shirt is actually open, and it's just now attached by what is the yoke of the shirt. So what I'm doing now is I'm cutting away only the front area. Leaving the back of it attached. Now the back section, what I need to do is you fold that in half. Make sure it's flat on the table. The next thing I need to do is re-scoop the back neck, because this is becoming the new front neck. So obviously the back of the shirt is too high. So generally I use a 3 centimeters depth, and then we just want to curve that off with a line with our wax up towards the neck there. Then, because it's folded in half, you can actually cut through and remove that excess material. Then what we'll need to do is replace a notch in the back there. It's the centre back mark. So just a little notch, not too deep, just about 0.5 centimetre. So obviously this measurement will vary depending on your size. But generally speaking, what I do for this one is I measure in a diagonal line from the neck point down towards the armhole, 34 centimetres, and draw a line with the wax. And then we've got that. From that point where we measured 34 centimetres, draw another diagonal line towards the original hemline, but extend it outwards so you're actually maximising the width of the hem, because we don't want to lose too much material at the hem. So then cut down towards the hem. So that's the back prepared, which is going to be the front. Now, with the front of the shirt that I deconstructed earlier, what we want to do is we want to lay them right sides together. And a good way of making sure that this holds in place is because you've got the buttonhole and button stand, you can button them together just to make sure that the two front edges are flush. So now I'm doing a similar sort of thing as what I did before. This is going to become the sides and the back of the shirt. So what I find is from the second button down from the top of the neck, I'm going to draw another diagonal line towards the underarm there at an angle. And then we cut through that line. Now, the sleeves are going to become a belt for the dress for this style. So to prepare that, fold it where the original underarm seam is. So what I'm wanting to do this time is actually remove what was the original sleeve head shaping. Remove that. And then that is the shirt fully deconstructed and ready to go to the sewing machine for later. The first thing that we need to do is actually overlock these areas of what was the back section, which is going to be the new side seam and the front neck edge. This can easily be done on a domestic. Instead of using an overlocking stitch, you would use a zigzag. So we go down that section and then just turn down there. So that's the neatening done. As you can see, I've overlocked those edges. Now while we're on this piece, the next thing we want to do is we just want to single hem turn this longer of the two edges. So not that bit, this bit. Stitching just directly on top of what are zigzagging or overlocking edges. And now I'm going back to this piece, if you remember this one. And what I'm doing is I'm hemming these diagonal edges here, and repeat from the other side. This way I'm just working up from the other way. Okay. So now you'll see that those edges have been turned back. The best thing to do now would be go and press it, but I'm just going to press it all at the end when we've finished. But at this stage, what we need to do now is put our collar back on. Just refine the center position. This one's actually still got its notch in it. I would first apply the edge without the interfacing, so it's a single thinner layer. We're just re-securing that edge of the collar to the new neck edge. And up to that point, give it a little back tack. So at that point we can come off. So you can see now one side is attached. Because I'm working from the center outwards, then we're just going to flip it over and work from the center to the other edge. Again, back tack just to make sure it's secure. Get rid of the stray cottons. So now you can see that that collar edge is now attached to that side. Now what we need to do is reclose the collar. So what we're doing is we're going to be stitching this edge down onto the other edge. This can be quite fiddly, but it's like the more practice, the better. You'll get used to it. So then that's the collar, and then you will see that that is now attached to what was the back. So now what we're doing is we're joining these pieces back on to the body of this. So it's this edge that we want to put to this edge. So again, it's the same seam allowance. Stitch that through. This will come out a little bit shorter, but that's nothing to worry about. Stitch through to the bottom, bar tack. Cut off our threads. And now you will see that both those panels are attached to that one. Now, what we've got to do now is we just want to finish off our side seam and our hem. So I do that in one go, simply by stitching from where those two joined, up at the corner there. Start from the top, pull all your raggedy cottons back, your overlocking, zigzagging, whatever it may be, and start from what's going to be the new side front underarm position. And now that is all joined back together. Now at this point, this is where we want to place it onto either ourselves, our friend, or if you're lucky and you've got a dummy, a tailor's dummy. I haven't restitched the button yet, so I'm just using the pin. But you will see that those pieces will now wrap. Now again, everybody differs slightly, so you might need to move the buttons, but I find that this works quite well. Almost creates sort of like a, You want to, like a paper aeroplane, sort of fold. You see how that sort of is like an envelope point? So what we're doing is, we're taking this piece, I'm going to lift it up onto the side seam, just to fill that gap there. You will need to place a couple of pins. So you see you're getting the idea. At this point now, let's just take this back off the mannequin, and we just want to stitch those pieces in place where we pinned. Okay, so that's that done. So at the moment what we're going to do is we're going to put that aside, and we're going to quickly finish off by making our belt. Now this was from the pair of sleeves that I prepared earlier. You sort of remember I cut the sleeve head off and I formed a point here. You want to make sure that they're together in a pair again, type of leather. Undo the cuff of one of them and slip your arm inside, and what you want to do is you want to grab hold of the other underarm position, pinch them together, and then you turn one inside the other so that they're now together. One's inside out and one's the right way round, and you're matching the underarm seam. Now you go back to the machine, starting from the underarm position, same sort of seam lengths we had before, 1 centimetre. And what we're doing really is effectively we're stitching around in a circle. Cut the cottons. Now you'll see what you've done is when you actually open them out, you've joined the two sleeves together and you form this point. This area here is what's going to be the centre front of the belt. It's like a cummerband. So on this point, it's quite nice to give yourself a few pleats. So as you can see there, I've just created 3 pleats on that seam. So I've stitched through the two together, creating the pleats. So that's that. So now you will see, I'll just place this back onto the mannequin. Obviously you've got the high neck, turn that down. There's a bustle effect on the back. Take that to the waist, and then you're tying this round, little effect there, just showing the cuffs, and it's also filling in that little gap that was there. So there you have it, one upcycled halter dress from one shirt.